that way.
All right.
We're live. I'm just going to make sure. Oh, I see Rich is in the attendee pool, so I'm going to promote him to panelist really quick, and then I'll do the intro. Okay, I'm not seeing any other members sitting out there. Good evening. Welcome to the March 12th Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee meeting. Let me get this to full screen mode. All right, we are recording this presentation this evening. Oh, it's just gonna roll right through. My apologies. We're recording this presentation this evening. We failed to do so last week, so we'll talk about meeting minutes a little bit further on this evening. This presentation will be posted on our website just in about 1 week's time. We do hold time on our agenda for public comment. There's 2 times this evening. If you are having any technical difficulties, we do ask that you reach out to Zoom for support. I'm going backwards, sorry. I'm so hardwired for using Teams that the once a month I use Zoom, it's like a foreign language to me. Okay, so per the GRAC committee bylaws, only the committee chair may recognize a public attendee. You can use the raise the hand feature this evening to indicate your desire to participate. And then if the chair acknowledges that, we will go ahead and pull you in as a panelist to participate. We have designated time on this agenda for public comment. Once you are recognized by the chair, your response must be related only to the request made by the chair and may be subject to a time limit. Any new business that arises or that is suggested during the public comment period will be placed on the next meeting's agenda. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Elizabeth.
All right, welcome everyone. Pretty short agenda here today, although Erin will be spending some time on educating us on the rate review process, which I know many people on the committee are keen to understand in more detail. So with that, Erin, why don't we go ahead and do roll call?
Sounds great. We'll start off with you, Chair Teagan.
Here.
Sandra Smith.
Here.
Brian St. John's.
Here.
Rusty Davis.
Here.
Christy Dykink.
Here.
Leslie Albert. Okay, haven't heard from Leslie. Jennifer Hamelman. I think we saw her. I'm going to put present. Rich McConaughey.
Here.
Vinod Singh.
Here. Hello, everyone.
And Ashwin Naharaja.
I'm here.
All right. Thank you.
With that, GRAC committee members, do you guys have anything that you want to share? Okay, I don't see any hands, so Rusty, you can go ahead and do the program updates.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Hope your week's going well. I just wanted to give you a quick highlights on what we're doing as far as the staff in solid waste and recycling, what we're currently working on and where we're going. So I think our biggest update is that our recruitment, we're recruiting for 2 positions currently. One is for the contamination reduction program coordinator, and just we have finally moved out of the SME reviews and into interviews. So we'll start interviewing next week and hope to have that position filled and offer sent out soon. So we're one step closer to getting getting that person in place, which will allow us to start focusing into contamination reduction activities to meet our RMA activities. The second position that's open is the operations supervisor position, since Erin has moved into policy. She's actually wearing two hats and doing a marvelous job at it right now. So thank you, Erin. But just the update on that is it will close this evening. That job announcement closes this evening. We'll move into the subject matter expert reviews and then hopefully start interviews shortly after that. So that's moving forward as well. Moving into our second update for this evening, our intergovernmental agreements for RMA. We have 8 of them with the cities that have areas of unincorporated Washington County. So what these IGAs do is allows the county to manage the contamination reduction planning and implementation for these cities that have areas within unincorporated Washington County. We currently have 4 of the 8 cities that have signed the IGAs. We're looking to get the next 4 completed quickly, and then this will be retroactive till July 1st of last year. So we're just about there, halfway through, and looking to get those done quickly, and it'll just help us to continue moving forward with RMA and contamination reduction. And then our last item for an update is that our spring mailer will be coming out next week. So keep your eyes open. You should see something in the mail. It's going out to Washington County, to all our residents, and it's just going to it's an educational mailer that is sent to all residents of the county just to as a reminder about recycling. So with that, that's kind of where we're at right now and what we're focusing on currently. Are there any questions?
Go ahead, Sandra.
Yeah.
I was wondering, is there going to be a countywide recycle event or PlanetCon things this year? Do you know?
Yeah, we have several activities planned. We have some repair fairs coming up. We have several outreach events. So yes, we will. And as those come up, the winter season's kind of our off season. So once we get into that, I'll bring dates to these meetings, and they'll also be posted on our website. Anyone else? All right. That's all I had, Elizabeth. Thank you.
All right, great. We can move into committee news. I wanted to share with you and thank all of you for spending time with me. I've been able to talk to almost everyone. And I wanted to just share some of the themes coming out of those meetings. First and foremost, I think most people are here because they're passionate about the 3 R's, the reduce, reuse, recycle, and are keen to see how the county can continue encouraging residents to be using those 3 R's. There was definitely a concern about the frequency of the meetings that were being canceled, and Erin has included a plan for topics for the remainder of the calendar year. So we do anticipate having meetings most months. You can take a look at those, and if you have any comments on those, or there are other things that you want to see, certainly raise that to Rusty, Erin, and I for consideration. The other thing that was expressed was a desire to get together in person periodically. So we will have a tour again. The top 2 places that people were interested in touring were Nature's Needs, the organics location, and then also visiting the Pride MRF. Erin also suggested that we might want to go visit the new waste management MRF, which has a high level of technology, and it might be interesting to see that as well. So Those will be considered, and I think, Erin, if I remember correctly, you maybe have that on either the June or July slot. So this summer we'll get a tour in. And then we'll look at the feasibility of potentially doing a meeting in person periodically and see if we're all able to get to Hillsborough and do that from time to time, with the remainder of the meetings being on the web. The other thing that came up consistently was wanting more data when we're asked to weigh in on various topics. And Erin has shared that is how she likes to think about things as well. So I do think that we'll see more data coming to us to help us make informed decisions. So again, thank you for your time and meeting with me, and reach out at any point if you want to talk about anything that comes up. So with that, does anyone else have any news that they want to share?
Not news, but thank you for your time. I only met once. You met a whole bunch of times, so I appreciate that.
No problem. Go ahead, Erin.
I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I did put a save the date on the calendar. Each year, the county and the board do a volunteer appreciation event. This year, that event's going to be happening in April. The date we were provided, I think it's the 29th.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an evening event. It's always an evening event. I just don't have the location and time yet. So those invitations typically don't come directly from us. They come out from the board. But as soon as I get my hands on one, I'll make sure I forward it along as well, so you all can join. There's always entertainment and food, and it's just a nice informal setting for everyone to connect. And then, yes, just on the tours, Sarah's going to be coordinating those. She's on vacation. When she gets back this month, I'll get her going on doing the coordination. And first, generally, we'll just poll everybody to see maybe a few possible dates, and then we can coordinate with the actual sites as well. But I'm thinking that would happen in July or early August.
Okay, great, thanks. And thanks for letting us know in advance about the volunteer event. If I'm in town, I'll definitely go. I have a tentative flight coming back on the 25th, taking care of a family member. So if anyone else plans to go, please let me know. Maybe we can start an email chain so that we can all try and connect up there. It'd be great to see you guys in person. All right. With that, we can move on to the board minutes. We're not able to get a recording of the last session, but Erin took great notes. So if I can have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes as Erin compiled them.
Thanks, Jennifer. A second?
Second.
Okay. Erin, do we need to go one by one, or are we good? We're good. All right.
Nope, with that, we just needed a motion and a second. They carry.
Okay. Perfect. All right, the floor is yours to take us through rates. Nope, I'm sorry. I skipped over the administrative rules.
I am going to drive the slideshow for Rusty. So Rusty, you can just let me know next slide. Give me just a second to pull those details up for you.
And while you're doing that, Erin, I'll just let the members know. Usually we'd read this in a staff report. We figured that's a little dry, so we put together, and Erin did some great work. We put a PowerPoint together and wanted to share the information from the staff report through this PowerPoint. So that's why you'll be seeing these slides here shortly. All right. So what we are going to do tonight is, as you know, we've been working on the administrative rules. We presented them last month. We got your feedback, incorporated that and some holler feedback, and then we're bringing these back right now. We're going to go through those changes to the rules and with the amendments on the administrative rules, and then seek your approval to move to the board and take these administrative rules with amendments to the Board of County Commissioners. So next slide, please, Aaron. All right, so what we're going to talk today or this evening about is what the purpose and desired outcome of these rules are, what we want to get from our presentation tonight. We're going to address committee member feedback. We're also going to talk about the administrative rule amendment area and the topics within that. We'll talk about stakeholder engagement. We've got 3 stakeholders we'll review, and then what our desired action is on the rule changes. Next slide, please. Okay, why are we here? So the purpose is to provide this committee the overview of our proposed amendments to the administrative rules regarding collection, service, and unincorporated Washington County. What we're looking for as our desired outcome is for this committee to favorably recommend taking these rules to the Washington County Board of Commissioners. Next slide, please, for rule adoption. All right, let's get into it a little bit. So first, I wanted to acknowledge our appreciation for the robust conversations that we've had with the committee at the February 12th meeting. We received and reviewed 23 written comments or questions. And as such, we've had several minor amendments that we made to these draft rules. Our focus for additional changes for any additional changes we made was to amend content that was already undergoing adjustments, and we presented those in the draft rules version on February 12th, 2026. Aside from that content that was already proposed, a lot of that was moving. A lot of the red lines you saw was moving things out of one area into another so that it was more congruent with the theme or idea of the rule. And aside from that content, we've raised many other topics of interest, and tonight I'm going to highlight some of those themes for the committee. But as I do this, please keep in mind that the rulemaking is an iterative process, that these topics and questions raised by the committee and that are now documented for staff's consideration in a future rulemaking process, most likely to occur in 2027. So as an iterative process, if a suggestion or recommendation wasn't incorporated into this rulemaking, we're going to have another next year. So we just wanted to focus on some major issues for this year. And as such, I want to highlight 3 areas that we're going to provide insight for with this rulemaking. 1 is our regulatory landscape. 2 is our programmatic offerings and operational components. And then the 3rd is definitions and housekeeping. So that's really what we want to highlight in this rulemaking. So let's get into our regulatory landscape. Number 1. So our solid waste and recycling administrative rules are really one tool in our regulatory toolbox. And before I go further, I forgot to caveat and level set with 2 things. Number 1, if I'm talking too fast, please slow me down. And number 2, if you have questions, please use the raised hand function, and then Aaron can stop me and let me know there's a raised hand if I miss it. All right, so let's get back to it. So here are some of those tools in the regulatory workbox that we work with. 1 is the Washington County Code 8.04, which is solid waste control. Then there's Code 8.08, which is solid waste disposal sites, and Code 8.20, which deals with nuisances provided with the highest level of county regulatory oversight of the solid waste system. So Washington County Code section 8.04.050 allows for the establishment of reasonable rules and regulations that pertain to the administration of the collection, storage, transportation, and disposal of waste and solid wastes. So the Department of Environmental Quality solid waste rules are outlined in OAR 340, divisions 93 to 97, and these establish requirements for management of solid waste statewide. These rules apply to storage, collection, transportation, treatment, and disposal. And for this rulemaking that we're talking about today, we focused on alignment with the Recycling Modernization Act. We also follow Metro regulatory guidelines as our state-mandated waste shed authority. They also maintain solid waste administrative rules, procedures, and guidance under Title V of the Metro Code. And for this rulemaking, we're also focused on alignment with the bulky waste collection practices that are highlighted in Title V of the Metro Code. So the county also maintains sanitary certificate agreements with all 8 collection service providers within Washington County. And additionally, the board approves all collection rates, and we maintain a documented rate review procedure that supports the consistency across the jurisdiction. Also, each disposal site, Waste Management's Hillsborough landfill, as well as Recology's North Plains organic site, they also maintain franchise agreements with the county. It's important to highlight that this complex framework of regulatory oversights means that not all regulatory aspects that apply to solid waste systems live within our administrative rules. So it's hard to capture everything with what we're doing with the rules. But while there are instances in which we do adopt direct language, in many cases, the oversight is inferred. Are there any questions so far? Okay, let's move into the second bullet on this slide, the programmatic and operational considerations. So aside from what we just discussed above, our regulatory mechanisms, areas such as accounting, insurance, and management of customer information are informed by the county and industry best practices. Offerings like expanded recycling collection services, such as that are operationalized, such as Recycled Plus, the reduced rate program, and medical waste, while defined in rules, are operationalized outside of the rules, which allows for the adaptability within these programs. When it comes to educating the public, the county staff has IGAs with Metro and an agreement with Circular Action Alliance to fund work happening across the county. My team must ensure our collection service providers comply with Metro and state educational requirements. And as such, the county creates and supplies items such as decals. We approve billing statements, content related to opportunity to recycle guidelines, and facilitates all county communications such as the recycling guide, just to name a few examples. The solid waste and recycling website is also an important tool due to our ability to be flexible and update processes, procedures, and guidance outside the official processes. Being adaptable to a changing landscape allows staff to support the system users in real time. Another example of real-time support is through telephones. You know, we receive a lot of calls. Sometimes it's calls just needing advice, and so we're able to offer that real-time assistance. Another area of the programmatic offerings and operational components is code enforcement, which has a direct oversight in Washington County. So areas in which language in the code or even in the rules happens to be ambiguous, our staff can leverage county counsel, the justice system, and other resources to ensure compliance. And then as we regulate to the lowest common denominator, we're able to address operational issues in a one-on-one with collection companies, as well as disposal sites. And it does allow for customized solutions in the system because this isn't a one-size-fits-all system. We do spend a lot of time speaking with the haulers in one-on-one capacities. Any questions before we move into definitions and housekeeping? Seeing none, let's move on. So in this section, we're just highlighting ambiguous terms that are often used by design. With that said, the code enforcement function of our division often informs the areas in which our rules, code, or agreements need to be tightened. For example, we've received numerous complaints around customer call hold times, which is informed in this rulemaking. The administrative rules mainly guide collection operations, but as the code allows, they also could include storage and disposal sites located in unincorporated Washington County, where a gap may be recognized. And then the last point here is terminology can change, and sometimes the additional clarity or context is needed, which leads to ongoing housekeeping as we change the rules. So again, housekeeping and definitions really adds to the iterative nature of rulemaking. So with that, I just want to again thank the committee for taking time to review these rules. There were items that were raised and documented for consideration in future rulemaking processes. But additionally, my team will bring division updates to you in 2026, centered around the education and outreach, policy and code enforcement, with the hopes of addressing many of the questions that you raised in that review. With that, I'm going to move on to recap the changes that we included in this round of rulemaking, which Kathy uplifted to you at the February meeting. Okay, so as you see on your slide, we have 5 bullets that we're going to discuss. Implementing changes to align with DEQ rulemaking, applying the same receptacle color coding standards, establishing call hold times, adding 2 new insurance requirements, and then the reporting requirement for emergency action plans. So these were the 5 areas that we really wanted to focus on for this iteration of rulemakings. So let's, the first bullet is really self-explanatory. We're aligning our rules with the DEQ rule changes related to recycling and modernization. We just need to make sure that what we're doing nests to what we're required by Oregon statute for RMA. But as we move into the color coding piece, we add a few notes on this. But RMA did not include that requirement at a statewide level. However, Washington and California have already adopted this and passed requirements. Regionally within Metro, there is a precedent within the cities of Portland and Beaverton having already established guidelines, and several other jurisdictions within the metro area. We understand, and we've heard from the committee and from the haulers, that standard depreciation of a cart is 7 years. We also have heard that from several producers and as well as this committee, that the useful life of a cart or a container is closer to 20 years. So as a staff, we're proposing an alternative approach to reach the same standardization goal. As you may recall, at first we wanted to color code our carts for standardization with the regional colors, black or gray for for trash, blue for recycling, orange for glass, and green for organics. We had initially proposed a 15-month on-ramp. We received comments from the haulers as well as this committee and changed it to 20. But now after reviewing your comments, you all received an email from Aaron on Wednesday morning. And in that email, it lined out that we're looking to change our approach to use an implementation date of December 31st of 2026 for any new orders to be in alignment with color coding requirements, as opposed to having a compliance date that your entire fleet will be in compliance by X date, 15 years or 20 years from now. So changing this approach, we feel it allows the haulers to take a more protracted approach and a more budgeted approach, and not have to update the entire fleet to match color coding all at once or all in one small block of time. As I said earlier, Beaverton and Portland have already adopted this into their rules, and we're looking to do the same. And just to highlight, Waste Management provides services for 50% of the area within unincorporated Washington County. And I just wanted to highlight that they've made that move to ordering the colored carts within Beaverton and Portland to align with their rulemaking. I did want to note, however, that with Dropbox and compactors, those are going to be exempt from the color coding within the rulemaking. We do want to recognize that this committee is made up of dedicated recyclers. There's still general confusion about public use of the system, and so the color coding really helps to alleviate that confusion. I wanted to highlight that the recycling system contamination rate is 17% statewide. So confusion is not only occurring within the commercial waste stream, but also within the residential waste stream. You know, in a previous life, I ran a recycling baling facility as well as a collection facility for the public. And I saw this firsthand. In our baling facility. There was just the contamination was pretty substantial. It would ebb and flow, but when we did get contaminated loads, it was very substantial. So I think that we have some work ahead of us, and we're really looking to tackle that 17% contamination rate, and we think that color coding and standardization is one of the pieces of the puzzle, although there are many, to help us decrease that percentage. Another piece of the puzzle really is the education and outreach approach that's going to focus on reducing barriers and provide clarity on how to participate in the recycling system, in the waste system, and how that is important. The cart or container serves as the foundation with which all users interact within the system. By assigning various colors and ensuring proper use of decals with images in various languages, this will become one piece of the county's larger contamination reduction strategy. We also wanted to note that with changing from a compliance date-based system to an implementation-based system, that it'll allow whole receptacle replacement through attrition. We want to collect data as well to see where the bins go after they've been replaced. So that's something we'll be looking at so that we can collect some data there and to see once a bin is disposed of after it's been depreciated, what happens to it. Are there any questions at this time? Sandra.
Hi. So you're saying now that there is not going to be a deadline for implementing all garbage cans and bins and roll carts to be all the same by 2046? So is that going to be taken out of our rules?
Yeah, so we had, I'm not sure if were you able to, did you have a chance to see the email Aaron sent
Yes,
yesterday?
I saw the email, but the
Yeah.
rules still show that
Yeah,
deadline.
so, right. So what we were planning on, you were right. Yeah, we're changing to a implementation date. We're going to take that 20-year date, the compliance date out, and just say that from December 31st of 2026, when new orders go in, we'll order them accordingly, according to the color coding process. This will match what other local jurisdictions are doing, as well as it'll allow us time as a committee, as staff to really re-examine that on-ramping time period. So it'll start the process and give us another rule iteration or two, or however many it takes to come up with an agreement on like what the long-term approach looks like.
Okay. So do the Portland bins and roll carts, their color scheme, so we're following what theirs is? Is that correct?
It's kind of an industry standard. With RMA, we're looking into, I'm sorry, we're not looking into, but it's blue has been identified as recycling, gray and black for trash, orange for glass, and then green for organics. And so with that it's kind of agreed upon, within the metro area that's what they're looking at going towards.
I asked some friends of mine who live in Portland, their glass bin is yellow. So where did orange come from?
I mean, orange or yellow, yeah, it's
and we have red. So I don't see, I mean, this is not consistent already. Is Beaverton, did they adopt the exact same ones that we have listed? The blue for recycling, black for trash, and orange for glass? Are they using that now?
Yeah, I'll have to look at. They adopted in their last year's rulemaking, I believe, the color standardization. I need to go back and find out from them. Like they started their implementation date and how that's looking. So
I really think the entire metro should have exact same. I mean, we're all voting on this unincorporated Washington County. So Beaverton has the same colors. What about Cornelius? What about Forest Grove? Do they all have to vote this? Why can't we just roll this out for the entire county? I mean, this is going to be, otherwise it's going to be inconsistent no matter what we do.
Right, and I understand that. And so just as far as the glass, to address that, Metro did establish orange for glass colors. And the colors were based off of Washington and California have adopted those colors. And so it's an imperfect system at this time as far as standardization, until either the state metro or the county says this is the direction we want to move forward with. We're the largest jurisdiction within Washington County, and ideally others will follow our lead.
Yeah, I was in Tualatin yesterday. They have gray bins and their tops are different colors. So I was like, well, why can't we do that? I mean, I know that's been brought up before.
Yeah, there's
it's like a big mess to me. I don't like any of this. I mean, the glass bins, I mean, they're yellow in Portland right now. and we're gonna pick orange. So, and we have red, so we have to switch them
Yeah.
all out.
Yeah, we're choosing orange to be in alignment with Metro's.
And Metro needs to roll it out. Metro
Yeah,
what?
I can't speak to Metro in Portland where they're at with it with that, but we would want, as we start moving forward, we want to be in alignment with Metro's because they are our waste shed. We'd want to be in alignment with what their standardization set is, and so that's where the colors are coming.
If this is going to be a success, they all need to, and hopefully Beaverton adopted it. I have no idea. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Sandra. But as far as Washington County, we want to start within these colors that have been set out by Metro. Beaverton did adopt these same colors in 2022, and so we want to stick with these colors, and then, as the largest jurisdiction, on this side for Washington County, be the example of we're using our waste sheds color standardization. Beaverton's adopted them, and then we want the entire local jurisdictions within the county to follow suit.
And we've got Tigard, we've got Tualatin, we've got
Right.
Loa, we've got all these different. They all need to adopt the same thing, or you're not going to have consistency.
Agreed. And it won't be an overnight process. This will take some time. And that's why we realize that and are changing our approach to a more, instead of a compliance by date, an implementation, and let's just start somewhere and work towards it.
So I have a brown garbage bin. So as long as I live here, I can keep that brown garbage bin and never have to switch colors, correct?
No, the garbage will be gray or black, and so eventually.
When?
I'm sorry.
We took away that due date though.
Correct. Yeah. So you'll be able to use your brown bin until whenever the next iteration addresses the compliance by date. But what we're saying is for color coding to start our standardization on an implementation date of December 31st of 2026, and any new orders after that date will be within color standardization.
Yeah, I have no problem with new orders, definitely. And
yeah, that's what we're addressing here.
Well, I don't know about now because these orange bins are kind of throwing me off here with Portland having yellow ones. And we have red ones, and actually in 12 I saw a blue one. I don't know where that came from, but.
Yeah, and all we want to go by is to be in compliance with our waste shed authority, which is Metro, and they've stated that that orange will be the glass color. And with the color standardization as part of the regional service standard, we've already started with multifamily, the multifamily sector. We chose as Washington County, we chose to start with multifamily as our focus for RMA. And so we're working towards color standardization. The haulers are aware of that. And it's been in the rules for several years for multifamily to be color coordinated. And so we're working towards that. This just expands with RMA. It just expands the color scheming into the other sectors of residential and business as we move forward, which, with our implementation date, it's anything new after that date. And then we can look at how that implementation goes and when compliance is needed by, but we can do that in a separate rulemaking.
Is there any future thing for RMA to implement this statewide? What about Salem? What about Eugene? Central?
Yeah, that's something, that's a good point that you brought up. It's something that that in this first rulemaking of RMA was brought up to DEQ of maybe we need colored standardization now. It's something they chose not to undertake at that time, but as subsequent as their rulemakings come up, that's something that we hope that they look at and can adopt, because I think it's only a matter of time since our neighbors to the north and the south, both Washington and California, statewide, have both adopted this. We're currently in an open DEQ rulemaking, and as citizens, you have the right and are encouraged to provide comments during their public comment period. Whether you're in favor or against, you can state those opinions at their rulemaking for citizens.
I mean, new and future ones, yes, but to get rid of existing ones, no. That's makes no sense to me. So.
Yeah, we're talking about through attrition. We're talking about new, and as we're implementing now, and as cards break, then they're replaced with, or as new customers come on, that they're given the carts with the correct colors as per the rules. And so that's really the direction we're leaning.
My 24-year-old roll carts and bins are in perfect condition, and they probably will be another 24 years. So we'll see.
Jennifer.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about that date of December 31st. Why push it out that far? I mean, if these bins last that long, do we really want people ordering more like next month in the current colors rather than in the new colors?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's something we considered. But I think that orders are going to be placed anyway. It's a date that we chose, that we're able to just close out. Our fiscal year will end, and we'll be able to close that out and then start fresh, at that time. So we're not, in other words, we won't be as concerned from now until that date. We know that acquisitions have to be made, and that they probably have procurements with being worked right now. So we just want to put a date for far enough out that everyone will be able to work off of that date.
Is it possible to have an advisement or something that says, you may start to implement before then? I mean, just as it seems a little bit obvious, but maybe it's not.
I think really why we want to wait until then is so that we can use the 2025 fiscal year as our baseline, and collect the data from that rate cycle. And so that's why we're waiting until that date of December 31st of 26 to get started, so that we'll have all that data collected and can have a baseline to begin with about the carts and what happens to carts when they're replaced. Are they recycled? Are they how are they disposed of? And so we'll have some data to start tracking.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Vinod.
Sorry, just getting off mute. I'm not going to pile on. It sounds like there's confusion around, the cart replacement. Why are we replacing it? And that the attrition is sort of the first step, but it sounds like there's a plan for a compliance date. And then so this just starts sort of a holding place, and maybe this is just because when you're talking, right? So when you say a new customer comes on, if you still have a brown cart, then you can get the brown cart from them until new carts are ordered. So you're not going to phase the existing inventory out. You're just saying any new. Correct. Once that's gone, then yeah. And right. I'll let you finish your presentation. It just sounds like there's a lot of agita around this whole topic.
No, that's exactly,
not just here. So
yeah, that's exactly right, Vinod. Yeah, it's just saying that any new orders from that date forward will be within compliance of the colored standardization requirements. And so, as the old fleet is worn out through attrition, that any new orders will be in compliance. And then if the carts will be replaced however, and then to finish that thought, I'm sorry, we would address the compliance piece in another year or two or whatever for another rulemaking iteration. That problem doesn't have to be solved now. However, with RMA and with DEQ, we could see a statewide rule at some point within the next period of time. Who knows when that could be? But you're right.
I mean, there's so much going on with RMA. I mean, even the unified list isn't unified across the state, and so there's that going on. But I understand the concept. I think it was said last time also that maybe the lid helps identify it, but I'm not sure. I'm sure there's studies on it. I haven't seen them. But is it malfeasance or misfeasance that the things are going in the bin incorrectly? Or is it because people just don't know which bin is which versus I can see which bin is which, but I don't know what's supposed to be on that list, which then goes to the Southern Oregon having a different list in Metro versus
exactly.
So.
Yeah, it's a pretty big problem, but we figured we needed some place to start with, and with outreach and education and with a visual cue of color-coded bins, that's somewhere to start with. So, but this problem won't be solved in this rulemaking, it's bigger than just Washington County, as you stated. So, Christy.
Thank you. I appreciate the change that's been made. And I want to say, even though I've been pretty vocal about this whole color coding thing, I do get the contamination concern. Obviously, that's a big concern. And contamination has its own costs. So it's not like contamination is free and new cards cost money. I get that. I do, as Vinod is suggesting, I think, if I understood him, sometimes it's just people who are either confused or maybe don't care, and no amount of color coding on the carts is going to matter. They're just going to do what they're going to do because they're busy or indifferent. My priorities, in addition to the contamination, though, also have to do with cost. I'm very, very concerned about the rates. I'm volunteering with a group that helps people with utility shutoffs, and the rate of people who are having their electricity and their water and things shut off it's frightening. It's really frightening. The economy is not very good right now. A lot of people can't find jobs. So anyway, very sensitive to any mandate that's unnecessary, that costs money, that means the rates might go up. So that's close to my heart as far as priorities. What I'm hearing now is that the anticipation is we will, within a year, perhaps, be looking at where we were last month. In other words, a date. Right. In other words, we're not planning to stay with attrition as the policy long term.
We could perhaps, if that's what we think is the correct answer, or we could look towards a compliance date if that seems to answer the question better. But I think we need to look at how we get there in the aggregate, and that I feel that would be more appropriate in a follow-on rulemaking, next year or at some point in the future.
Okay. And I have to say, Sandra raised some issues that oh my goodness, you mean, I read the original discussion was, well, if you move from Gresham to Hillsborough or to Washington County, you ought to be able to have the same thing and you would recognize it right away. And if that, in fact, isn't the case, if it's not coordinated with other local jurisdictions, it loses a lot of its meaning.
Correct. But Metro as the watershed authority,
Right. But it's perhaps a matter of timing.
Right.
Until
And we
all
are
the ducks can
coordinating.
be in a
We are
row.
coordinating with other jurisdictions. You know, we're
Okay.
in discussion with Beaverton. We speak with Gresham all the time, you know, and the local jurisdictions. This is a topic that comes up quite a bit. And so it's a difficult topic. It's a multifaceted topic, and it's going to take time to develop it in a way that that touches on all those parts. But you know, we have to start somewhere, and so we're choosing to start in this manner.
Do we have any, and perhaps there are people in the meeting as well who can address this, but do we have any hauler feedback to this latest approach to what's on the screen now?
I believe we'll have some hauler comments tonight in the public comment section.
Good. All right. Thank you. And do we not know where the old bins go now? Like when they're taken out of service, we don't know where they're going, or is it just varied by hauler? Or
it varies by hauler, but I think that's some data that we want to have. We've never really had a need per se to have robust data on that, and that's something that as we implement this program, we want to take a look at, so that we can learn from the data and also use the data in a meaningful way.
Yeah, it seems pretty important. I appreciate we're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Jennifer?
I just wanted to, while we were talking, I went to the City of Portland website, and their yellow bins actually have great big orange stickers on them, and the multifamily bins are orange for glass. My guess is there's some part of the process that we're not privy to, that they already had a bunch of yellow bins and they had the same conversation as us about cost and decided
Right.
orange stickers were their temporary fix. So I think we could maybe get creative ourselves and sort of think about those other ways to do these things gradually and over time, because this isn't a process that's going to happen overnight, no matter what kind of rules we put out there. It's just it's a massive project with many waves of iterations over time.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. Brian, were you next?
It looks like Rich was next before me.
Rich, were you next? Go ahead, Rich.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. So the multifamily, it sounds like it's already adopted the same approach.
Correct.
And I think that's a really good step. I think multifamily has traditionally had higher contamination levels, and usually they're the last thing thought about. But in Washington County and probably otherwhere in the metro region, they're the fastest growing sector, probably is more multifamily housing coming online. So I think it's a really good message to start with multifamily. And I think I read someplace that the Circular Action Alliance is going to be using some of the RMA revenues to help speed along and finish that multifamily transition. So maybe that can happen later on also. So I think that's really good to start there. And it does sound like the putting people on notice with a certain date, like, yeah, now when you do new orders, go ahead and get the new stuff. I think if they've got existing inventory, they can use that, you know, until that inventory is depleted and their new orders get delivered.
That's right.
And probably going across jurisdictions, you know, if maybe in Washington County, they've got the new stuff, but maybe they could use the old colors in other cities that aren't bought in yet. So I think there is going to be some time to do some transition. And it seems to me like most of the operators try and get the carts recycled when they take them back in. So I think that's also a consideration. But I'm in favor of the change that Aaron shared with us earlier in the week.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and thank you for those comments, Rich. And just to let you know that when RMA started, Washington County chose to focus on on the multifamily sector. Other jurisdictions across the street, some are starting with residential, others may start with commercial, but that's where we wanted to start because of some of the reasons that you shared tonight. And so, and yes, the CAA funding, you know, that there are funds there to move color coding along. So anyway, Brian?
Yeah, I don't want to belabor everything. I just want to weigh my 2 cents. The aspect of not being able to coordinate across the greater Portland area between all the jurisdictions on the colors does not make sense to me. It just doesn't. I understand, we have an overarching authority in Metro. There has to be a path forward. I just wanted to say I am very displeased if we're going to proceed with a process that is going to just continue confusion. I moved from Portland here to unincorporated Washington County. So I would encourage everyone, if possible, to find a way to get us all in sync on this. And I'll leave it at that.
Noted. Thank you. And that is something that Metro is our wayshed authority. Portland, they do have yellow bins with orange stickers. It's not a perfect solution, but it's something that that we're working on as a larger group under the Metro Authority, and we'll get there. But it just takes a little bit of time for large jurisdictions to move the needle. So we will get there, and it's going to be imperfect, like orange stickers on yellow bins, but Portland's already adopted those colors. So once the other jurisdictions within the Metro Wayshed start doing the same, then the standardization takes place. So anyway, I just wanted to recognize, I agree. I heard your comments and agree. So thank you. Anyone else before we move on with the presentation? Okay. Thank you all for sharing. That was a good discussion. I appreciate your comments. If you think of a question while I'm going through the rest of the presentation, please stop me with the raise hand function. All right, next slide, please, Aaron. Okay, so other parts of this proposed admin rule changes are we took a look at material prep. The details are now going to be located on the county's solid waste and recycling division web pages. Another thing we took a look at was how to clarify minimum service volumes for multifamily collections, that they'll be measured using loose or uncompacted gallons. We're also adding definitions for bulky waste and contamination, and we've made some minor housekeeping changes, such as combining topics that apply across all customer classes. Next slide, please. So, Sandra?
Can I ask what that picture was on the previous slide? A glass roll cart? Was that with green with a yellow top? Is that even in Oregon? Sorry, I was like, where'd that come from? Or is that a multifamily thing?
Yeah, I think that's at a multifamily location. That's in an enclosure. And so theirs are a little different than residential.
So their colors are completely different than residential?
Well, keep in mind, this is an old photo. They're adopting blue for recycling. They're adopting the same colors.
Great.
Yeah, but it's just we need updated photos, but we haven't gotten there quite yet, Yeah,
the Washington County website also shows I think the same color carts with different color bins.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's cool, but
thank you,
Rusty.
You're welcome. All right. Next slide, please. So earlier I said I'd tell you about stakeholder involvement. So we have 3 stakeholders in this process. The first is the Washington County Haulers Association. That's the co-op of the haulers within the county. They're certified garbage and recycling collection companies, and they've provided comments on this rulemaking through a series of engagements we've had with them. The other another stakeholder has been the Washington County Technical Waste Shed Committee. That's a co-op made up of local jurisdictions within Washington County. So that would be like the cities within Washington County. And so we've provided them with an overview of our changes, given them an opportunity to for alignment, so their rules align with our rules, vice versa, and as well as post-adoption and how their staff will share the approved versions for their future consideration. So we've kind of given them draft pre-current and post, pre through draft or pre through what the current state was, current with what we were working on in draft, and then post will give our Washington County Technical Waste Shed access to our approved rules as well. And then the last stakeholder in these three have been this committee and the interested parties, which have been the haulers and any public that wants to make comments. We've worked with the notification to give opportunities to comment on our draft rules. We've received comments and worked with the committee to incorporate those and have discussions about them. Next slide, please. Well, what is the point of this presentation? Well, what the whole point is what we're asking is for this committee to recommend that, or the staff, we're asking that this committee will favorably recommend to the Washington County Board of Commissioners to adopt these proposed rules at as we present from tonight, including the staff report and attachment A. So at this time, the committee, the staff is asking for adoption of the rules to where we could take these to the board, and the board would then approve the rules, and these would go into effect. So to do that, we would go ahead, Christy.
I realize this may be out of order. I wonder if the public attendees who have things to say about any of this could be given a chance to talk before we vote. Otherwise, their comments coming later don't.
Yeah, I apologize. I missed that, but we are planning to open up before we vote.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that concludes my briefing. So yeah, there will be some comments, and then if the committee feels, then we'd need a motion if the committee is ready to motion to move forward, and then there would be a second and a vote, I believe. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Elizabeth, pinning your questions.
Thanks, Rusty. Really appreciate
You're welcome.
it. With that, why don't we open it up for public comment?
Okay, it looks like Kristen Leichner with Pride Disposal. I'll go ahead and promote her.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you for the time tonight. I'm Kristen Leichner, one of the owners and the president of Pride Disposal Company, and I am also the president of the Washington County Haulers Association. I would like to address the proposed administrative rules, specifically the topic of color coding carts. We really appreciate that staff has adjusted the proposed rules several times in response to feedback from both the haulers and from your committee. We want to recognize that and also address the concerns that we still have. The proposed rules did remove the deadline, but they continue to require haulers to provide fully color-coded carts when we are purchasing and delivering carts in unincorporated Washington County. And anytime a new customer receives carts or a cart is exchanged for any reason, we will have to provide those fully color-coded carts. Those carts being replaced could still go back into circulation, so this will still result in carts being replaced before the end of their useful life. or they will end up being repurposed in another jurisdiction that does not have this requirement. The intended goal of color coding is to reduce contamination, which we are supportive of, and make it easier to educate customers on which receptacles for which materials. But this can be accomplished by color coding the lids rather than the entire cart. This would be a lower cost alternative than replacing entire carts. Haulers have been required to purchase yard debris carts with green lids since 2015, so we are all already in the process of that change in the county. While we agree that we do need to reduce contamination, we don't have widespread issues with customers filling carts with the wrong material, such as filling their recycling carts with garbage. The issues with contamination center around confusion with what can and can't be recycled, such as a piece of styrofoam ending up in the recycling cart. It's not about misidentifying which cart is which at someone's home. Residential customers typically keep their carts and glass bin in their garage or on the side of their house. Customers are in control of their carts. They have stickers. Sometimes they even have hot stamps on the lids indicating the material type. At their own homes, residents understand which receptacle is for which material. The confusion comes when they're determining what is recyclable curbside, not which cart it goes in. Haulers are allowed to depreciate our costs over 7 years. For every year beyond 7 that we can use a cart, it saves money in the system, which saves money for the ratepayers. My company has a plastic welder that we use to repair cracks and holes in carts, which extends the life of the carts even further. If we have to make this change in unincorporated Washington County, just for my company, it would mean replacing more than 34,000 carts and more than 11,000 glass bins, and would cost my company $1.6 million with today's costs of carts and bins, which would be passed on to the ratepayers. Carts that are pulled from Washington County that are not fully color coded in my area would be repurposed in another jurisdiction that does not have this color code requirement. 5 of the cities I provide service to don't have this requirement, and I honestly doubt that they will because this sort of thing is just not a priority for them. We will end up repurposing those carts in the other jurisdiction, which means the cost of the fully color-coded carts would only be purchased for unincorporated Washington County, and we can use our older carts in other jurisdictions, keeping the costs lower there. And I just also want to address the Metro's requirement of multifamily color coding because that's been referenced several times. It is a bit different because most of those receptacles are metal and they can be repainted rather than completely replaced. Again, we appreciate that staff has removed the deadline for this change and has tried to find a workable solution, but we do think that color coding lids would have the same outcome at a lower cost. That change would still have a rate impact, but the lid colors is the less impactful choice. Thank you for the discussion on this and for your time.
Thank you, Kristen. Erin, does anyone else have their hand up?
No, not at this.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
Point of order. Would it
Sure.
be acceptable for open discussion before voting amongst the members?
I believe so. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. I think our public comment person, Kristen, made a very important statement. It's about cost, guys, for me. It really is. I get frustrated, like many of my peers and my fellow residents, seeing utilities, whether it's electricity, water, garbage, whatever, going up, 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 up. This feels like we are putting too much pressure on our haulers. That's going to get passed along when we do the budget thing. And then the budget thing with the 10% thing equals big rate increase. And it feels like that's part of the cycle here. I'm not going to vote yes on this. I'm going to vote no. And I wanted my fellow members to know that before we voted. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Brian. Does anyone else have any comment that they'd like to share? Go ahead, Christy.
I just have a question. It wasn't clear if Kristen was speaking on behalf only of Pride Disposal or if she was speaking as president of the whole association, if other haulers had contributed to that opinion, essentially.
Great question. Are we able to have Kristen come back?
Yes, hold on.
Thank you for the question, and I'm sorry I did not make that clear, but I am speaking on behalf of the Haulers Association. We reviewed the comments together.
Thanks, Kristen.
All 8?
Yes, all Are there 8 of us or are there 7 of us now? I think there's 7 of us.
Oh, 7, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Sandra?
Kristen, can I ask what other jurisdictions you service that you would pass these roll carts to? Are they in Washington County as well?
Yes, all of them are in Washington County. So we service City of Beaverton, which Rusty mentioned does have the requirement already. And then the ones we service that do not are Hillsborough, Tigard, Durham, King City, and Sherwood.
And you don't, so all these cities would have to also vote for the same colors, right, Rusty? Is that what this is going to be about? And if they don't, and they're in Washington County, then we don't have consistency.
Right. So currently,
I can't see this going through. Unless everyone's on board, I can't see this working. I'm sorry.
what we're proposing is for our jurisdiction only, for unincorporated Washington County. I mean, but just note, all those jurisdictions are, we're all under Metro, Washington County is under Metro's wayshed authority. Washington County provides the wayshed authority for those communities within Washington County, such as the communities Kristen just mentioned.
And so is everybody in Clackamas County, which we haven't even touched on yet. I mean,
Well, yeah, Clackamas,
anybody there going? Wilsonville?
That's their own entity. We're
they're
just
under Metro though.
correct, but we're just trying to focus right now on unincorporated Washington County. That's part of the larger problem. I recognize your point, but we can only focus on what we can have, what we can really affect right now, which is unincorporated.
And I'm sure Kristen can tell us that there's a lot of existing inventory that they already have, her and other haulers, that they would have to use up first before the end of the year, before they would order new inventory. So these are brand new subscribers getting the wrong color bins right off the bat today, tomorrow.
Yeah, but we're saying if there is, if there's a need to put a new order in, put the new order in. But if you have quite a large stock of current inventory, use that, because you're going to use your current inventory and exhaust that before you put a new order in. But I'm just curious, as the language stands now, can we add language around the lids and still move forward with implementing this?
As the language stands now, it still has that deadline.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I don't
referencing Aaron's email where we had make that change to an implementation date, take away the compliance date, So would we be able to move forward if we changed that whole language in there to having an implementation date of changing lids?
I would like to ask the haulers if they would find that acceptable. And I will base my vote off of that.
Okay. Elizabeth, is Kristen still available?
Erin, can you promote her if she is?
She should be able to unmute if she.
Oh, sorry, took me 2 tries. Yes, that was the conversation we had at the Washington County Haulers Association, was that lids would be an acceptable alternative.
And Rusty, sorry, Vinod has his hand up, so I'll let you go first, Vinod.
I was actually going to ask kind of where Rusty was saying. So again, we haven't voted, but it sounds like they're maybe split or leaning towards new language. Would that imply that you would come back to this group with new language, and we would at this time vote if whatever, though I'm not trying to coerce anybody either way, if you're going to say, hey, if let's take the butcher's word for it. If they're saying that lids is the way out, that's a compromise. So you're not having, hodgepodge of bins around the state, but you're having a consistent lid that's easier for, and I'm saying the state as kind of the goal, right? Like you stated earlier, maybe at some point we move to other jurisdictions. Is it going to be an easier sell to say, hey, we just want to change lids so that people know these colors are applied to the uniform statewide collection list.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ramble and I'll stop rambling. So yeah, I mean, would we then say, hey, can you submit modified language based on the input from that? Because I think, to go on Brian's point and everybody's point, we're looking at a rising costs everywhere. $100 barrels.
I think what we would do, Vinod, is we would take a vote on the understanding that the language would be amended prior to going forward to the board. So if the vote was favorable with amended language to include lids only, let's say that was approved here shortly, staff would go back, make that correction within the rules, send a copy back to the committee, and any other stakeholders, and then so that way you could see the language, so yeah.
And I'm just trying to think of how do you make it more palatable. We're still leading the way. We're still saying, hey, we need to make it clear what goes in there, but then you run into equity issues with rural that already have bins, or people that already have bins or have ordered them. Maybe they were in the class A of the RMA ordering carts, and they already have them in order. Now they won't, they'll have the wrong bins. And so how do you if you're going to eventually try to apply it across the state, what's the path of least resistance? And I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just kind of pontificating, trying to, the whole RMA is a shared system. That was the
right.
And so some of that sharing, it was a true compromise because everybody kind of went, okay, I guess that's good enough. That's where we're going to be. I didn't get everything I wanted. But we kind of met in the middle. So that's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a larger issue that we definitely can't answer tonight. But what we can answer is that, we wouldn't need to meet again as a committee. We would approve moving forward with lids. I mean, if it was still a hang up, really the only thing that we need to keep is the multifamily, because that is within the RMA rulemaking. That's by statute that's going to be color coordinated. But if we're in agreement that lids are the route to go, we can certainly vote on that, and then staff would adjust the language, provide you all a copy of that, and then take it to the board for approval.
Thanks, Rusty. And I'll stop. But it's a lot easier to sit in my basement and ask questions than it is for you to come
exactly. Yeah, for sure, no problem.
I think it'd be helpful if Kristen has an analysis on what the cost of lids would be, because the one thing about lids is there's labor involved in swapping those out as well. So I'd be interested if that data point's available.
Am I back on? Okay.
Yes.
So I looked that up today, and I should have written it down, and I didn't. I believe that the cost of a lid in the last invoice when we bought lids only, 'cause sometimes you do just have to replace the lids, I want to say it was around $17, versus I think around $45, $50 for a cart. So there is labor involved, but typically those are done when the carts are in the yard because of some other issue. Either they've been pulled from a resident and they're being cleaned, so they're already being handled. So the additional labor of adding a lid or swapping out a lid is not very material to that other activity we're already doing to it.
Thank you. That's helpful. Ashvin?
Folks, sorry my camera is not working tonight. I don't have too much different than what people have already said, but I am nervous about approving language until we see it clearly, just because I'm not interested in adding costs to things. And also wonder if you could clarify, like for glass containers, would we still be changing out the containers there? Because to me, those seem like they're a different size and pretty easy to already differentiate from recycling bins. So not sure how we would handle that or if that would also be included in this language. And it also seemed like last time we talked about this, the feedback from everybody here was kind of around the same, like a lids first. And so it seems like we should have caught this earlier rather than making it like I'm not really sure the schedule and timeline of why it's urgent, but I just prefer we do the right thing rather than try and rush it through.
Thanks, Ashton. Christy?
I'm feeling like I'm being a real pain here. I'm sorry, but to me, a lid with one color and a bin with another color doesn't solve anything. It would be better, in my view, to just adopt colors. We know what the colors are going to be and replace them through attrition, no deadline. That way we don't add additional costs. We have a consistent program, and maybe it will work with the other jurisdictions. I still have that concern, but to me, the lid thing is I appreciate the attempt at compromise, but I think it's actually a little more confusing.
All right. Any other comments or discussion points, guys? Go ahead, Ashvin.
Sorry, just one more thing. I wasn't sure if this is all a bundled rule change or if we could vote on the other items if this is the one that's still controversial versus all the other ones. I wasn't sure if that was an option to help streamline things.
Yeah, Ashman, that is an option. If this is a point of contention for the group, you can approve the rules with the exception of the color piece, and then we can basically table that till the next rulemaking iteration. So what would be going forward would be the draft you have minus the language about residential carts being color coded. We still have to keep in the multifamily since that program's already been adopted at the state level, and it's something that we're implementing. So that is an option. Long story short.
That's a great suggestion. Would that be more palatable to others to move forward on the rest of the rules while we continue working through how to approach the color coding?
Just to clarify, that means putting off this decision a year
Not
for the
putting off
next rulemaking? Okay. And I want to be clear on that timeline. I don't want to just keep pushing off this decision.
Yeah, we typically do rules, look at taking rules in front of the board once a year. However, if this is something that the committee can work through like in the next 3 months or whatever, I can certainly schedule with the board, as basically to amend them back in or for another iteration. So it doesn't have to be that timeline.
Okay, so a change can be made interim. But it sounds like
I think so. It's not very likely, and that's why we're on that annual process with the board. It would most likely be in 2027. But that, I guess, what my message was, and I should have been more clear, is that doesn't preclude this committee from working on this within the next 3 years, in the next 3 months, coming to a conclusion that we're going to adopt X, Y, and Z for the next rulemaking, and then, then it'll be in for the next rulemaking. So we could, there has been that off chance where you can get amendments to something, but the board is usually likes to just see things once a year. So yeah, I'm sorry I didn't clarify that the first time. It's due to their calendar is pretty full, and it's hard to get time slots. And that also speaks to Ashvin's question earlier, but comment about if there was urgency around this, and it wasn't necessarily the urgency. It was just that we are on the board's calendar, and those time slots are hard to get. We've been on it for months, and it's just coming up, and this is the final step before we go see the board.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve without the color coding included?
Will we be able to see this before it goes to the board, the revisions?
Yeah, we have time. We're going to the board in early April, so yeah, we can send a copy to the committee.
So Sandra, you want to see a copy with just the color piece taken out?
Yeah, I'd like to vote on that and be able to see it first, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that tonight.
Yeah, it would be the exact same as the draft, just that paragraph about would be taken out. So we could send that, after this meeting, probably early next week.
I think it was 8JM.
I would do all of Section J. So I would move to adopt the proposed administrative rules with an exception of Section J and refer Section J back to staff for incorporating of comments.
Thanks, Brian. Erin, do you want to say anything before we ask for a second?
Yeah, I just want to weigh in that Section J is a new section. It was a roll up from other sections. So when I remove the color coding, that will default to the standard language. It's going to take me some time to parse that out and put it back where it belongs. I can't tell you offhand where all those Jenga pieces go, but certainly as I make the adjustments back to the original version, can call those out in a draft. I do have time next week set aside to start working on the board documents and could let you see that. But basically what it does is the color coding does stay in place for multifamily, and those are down under the multifamily service standards. And then that Section J does go away because we won't have the roll up. So if that makes sense, I will need time to untangle things. And I would say it would definitely be the end of next week before I could get that out for visualization, which should give you all plenty of time to take a peek before we have to post things to the board. We're going April 7th. So by the 24th, I have to post the attachment A as it should stand, as this committee wants to move forward with.
Okay. Would anyone like to second Brian's proposal?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Sandra. Erin, do we go to a vote now?
We do. And I was just getting to my spreadsheet. Oh. Okay, sorry. I'm having some technical issues. All right, let's start with you, Elizabeth.
Approve.
Next is Sandra.
I approve.
Brian.
Aye.
Rusty's non-voting. Christy.
Aye.
Leslie. Did we lose Leslie? It looks like she dropped off. Jennifer.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Vinod.
Aye.
And Ashwin.
Aye.
Okay, that closes that out.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That was a good discussion. Now we have Erin, the rate review process.
Yeah, I wanted to do a time check. I'm going to tell you that it is a very detailed presentation. To do it justice, I have at least 45 minutes of just me talking, and that doesn't involve digging into questions and answers. So I had April as a tentative cancel, just because we have 2 members that would be absent. But for the sake of time, I guess I would leave it to you all to decide, do you want me to come back and actually do my presentation in April? The presentation always comes with an offer of one-on-one as well. And those certainly could happen in advance of the next meeting. We could get those scheduled in late March, all through the month of April before we convene in May. So I really wanted to defer to you all, just because it is an in-depth topic and a lot to think about. And I appreciate all the robust conversation around the rules. That's really our current priority. And then rates is next. So we'll defer to you all to decide.
I move to postpone it to the April 9th agenda.
I'll second it.
Here, here.
All right. I see a lot of nodding heads, so it looks like we'll delay that one. I will not be able to attend, so Sandra will chair that meeting.
Great. And yeah, if you want to have a one-on-one in advance, you've seen my presentation. It's available, the primer, but we'll delay that. I'm happy to get some time on the schedule to take a deep dive. It's a meaty topic, and we have lots of things to consider this year coming up. So thank you.
Question, Erin, do you prefer in person or Zoom for any one-on-ones that we might be interested in?
I don't have a preference. I would say Zoom's a bit easier when I have multiple screens and I can share resources a little bit more effectively than in person when I'm just on my laptop and it's a little bit clunky. But honestly, it depends on how into the weeds you want to get again, Brian. So let me know.
Thank you.
We're flexible.
Very good. All right. We should open it up for public comment again.
Yes, at this time, public comment up to 4 minutes. If you have any new topics to raise, please go ahead and raise your hand. I'm seeing none at this time.
Okay, then that concludes the meeting.
And
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
I just say one thing. I
Oh.
really appreciate, particularly Erin and Rusty, for your flexibility on this. I think I've been on the committee, 2 years now, Brian? Is that how long we've been here? This is the first really contentious meeting we've had that was a little bit difficult and different opinions. And I really appreciate how everyone contributed. It feels positive and appreciate that.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a mutual feeling. It's you're an advisory committee and we're going to have these discussions from time to time. You provide advice to us and the board. So thank you for your participation as well.
Very good. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Have a nice
Have a good night.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.